I'm going to be explaining to you in this podcast the social judgment theory, and you will need a page from your workbook. It's the page that has the onion on the top with the social penetration theory, and the social judgment theory is on the bottom. So get a pen, get the paper, and pause this podcast if you are not really ready to go. The social judgment theory, it's been around for a while, since 1961, and it uses numbers instead of words. And we don't usually think of numbers as being a part of a communication theory, but in this one, it works. And I often paired this theory up with the Toulmin claim because it really does help you understand why some people want to listen to what you have to say and some people don't. So let's take a look at the theory. First of all, you see this line. The line has a bunch of hash marks on it representing latitudes. Latitudes, where do we hear that word? Often we think of a globe and it has latitudes and longitude. It basically means degrees. So on this line, it's saying that there are different degrees of how you judge things. Your opinion can be strong, or you might have a very little opinion on an issue, depending on the issue. So the line represents latitudes. And what kind of latitudes? Well, over here on the left, we have an LOA. And on your paper, you're going to want to mark that LOA stands for latitude of acceptance. The speaker is always on the left side by the 5 over the latitude of acceptance, because the speaker accepts the claim they're making, regardless of whether it's a positive claim, like marijuana should be legalized, or if it's a negative claim, marijuana should not be legalized. Mariah Carey is the best singer. Mariah Carey is the worst singer. No matter whether it's a positive or a negative claim, the speaker is making that claim and the speaker is always on the left 5. Now obviously, there are not people that all agree with the speaker, or it wouldn't be a Toulmin claim. A Toulmin claim must be debatable. So there's got to be people against your claim. And they're over here on this side. They have a latitude of rejection, and that's what the LOR stands for, is latitude of rejection. Now, how much do they reject? It depends on what their latitude is, how far over they are away from what the speaker's saying. Now, we have a whole bunch of people that aren't really for the speaker or against the speaker. They're kind of hanging out somewhere in the middle. They're on the LON, and often in the classroom, the students will say, oh, that must be neutral. Well, neutral is somewhat the idea of the middle. They are neutral. But in this theory, the LON is a latitude of non-committal. They aren't committing to being with the speaker. They're not committing to be with the people against the speaker. And that could be mildly. If they're close to the 0, they're really not committed. But if they're a little farther away, either side, they're not fully committed, but they aren't as powerfully for or against as the LOA or the LOR. The next line says attitudinal blank is the position on an issue a person finds most acceptable. What goes on that blank is anchor, A-N-C-H-O-R. Your attitudinal anchor is how you feel, your judgment, your opinion on the claim that the speaker is making. Maybe you agree totally with the speaker and your anchor is going to be right here. Maybe you disagree strongly with the speaker, your anchor is going to go here. And maybe you don't even care. You don't know much about what the speaker's talking about. You've had no experience with the claim. You might be hanging out somewhere in the middle. But your attitudinal anchor is where you would put a 1 and a dot, and you would say, here's where I stand before I ever hear the speaker speak. Now, the range and number of attitudes vary from issue to issue. I only show really 10 latitudes here, a 0 in the middle and 5 on each side, but sometimes there's fewer, sometimes there's more. The boomerang effect, what is it? It's not good for the speaker, I can tell you that. This means that before somebody heard the speaker, they put their attitudinal anchor, and maybe they put it right here with a 1. But after they've heard the speech, now they think the evidence was weak. In fact, they think what the speaker had to say was not persuasive, and now they realize, I thought maybe I agreed a little bit with the speaker, but I see I disagree strongly. So they come over here, and after they hear the speech, they put their attitudinal anchor clear over here. That is the boomerang effect, and that's something that the speaker does not want to happen. The speaker is always trying to be persuasive with pathos, ethos, logos, and persuading people to move closer to their stand. Ego involvement is related to a person's self-concept and self-esteem. What this basically means is the stronger you feel about your claim, the more confident you're going to be, and your self-confidence and your self-esteem will be very strong. If you try to speak about something that you hardly care about, you're not going to be very persuasive. Ego involvement influences our evaluation of a message. And what that means is, when I agree pretty much with the claim the speaker's making, before they ever say a word, my attitude's going to be, I want to listen to this. And if I strongly disagree with the claim that the speaker's making, before they ever say a word, and without me even cognitively really realizing it, my brain is starting to put up a wall because I don't even think I want to hear what the speaker's got to say because I already know I don't agree. Ego involvement influences our message greatly of how we think, how much we're involved with that topic. Now, the more ego involvement we have, the more likely we are to want to listen when we have a latitude of acceptance, and the less likely we are to listen. In fact, we don't even want to hear it at all sometimes if we have a latitude of rejection. You see this a lot during the election times. The people on the TV are speaking and you agree with that candidate, you agree with that party, you agree with that person or that issue. Wow, you're all ears. You're listening, actively listening. But now somebody comes up that you really disagree with, you pick up that remote and one click, they're muted. You don't even want to hear it. Highly ego-involved people distort a message, positively or negatively, much more than a person with a latitude of non-committal. And all this is saying is, if you don't really care, you're going to be less biased about how you listen to the message. But if you're strongly on either side, you are absolutely going to distort what you hear. You're going to both hear the same thing. These people are hearing the same as these people. But these people are saying, wow, that was great, and distorting what it was said, and perhaps exaggerating how great it was. And these people are saying, that was ridiculous, and they're finding all kind of fault with that. So our attitude about the message is greatly affected by our attitude of how much we agree or disagree. And finally, this theory explains the process of resistance to attitude change and persuasion. It helps us understand why some people are more easily persuaded than others, and a lot has to do with how much ego involvement they have. I trust you will have no one boomerang in your persuasive speech because you will have great evidence and great passion and much logic to woo your audience to think like you think. Thank you.